And because I've gotten messages from beings a number of times that turned into be books, I said, sure, I'll interview them. So I go there and the woman goes into trance. I'm talking. Of course, what's the first question I ask? So, are you extraterrestrials? And then the answer was, would you like us to be? We could do that if you want. We could actually take you to our planet. But no, we're not extraterrestrials. We've always been here. You're the visitor. That's what they said. You're the visitor.
And the whole cosmology.
And that's that idea. You'll hear a lot of the beings say we've actually always been here. But what does it mean to be here? Is there actually a here? Because people, if you get into the quantum physics and all the mystical stuff that the Eastern people got, and the Eastern people got because they sat in caves for 20 years to 30 years, and they got in the field. They were able to transfer into the field and pick material.
I just mentioning like in Buddhist cosmology, what granted the same is basically truth, but it describes 6 lower heavens for the camera. There's 6 lower heavens of Devas, physical type beings, and then you have the Brahmosphere, which are vast godlike beings, much more profound. So they're right here. Every world system has them, and Buddha would describe other stars. They have their own world system.
Yeah,
so they're right here. Yeah.
But they got that material by being in the field. They didn't. They didn't sort of figure it out with mathematics or anything. They were suddenly in the field because they were sitting in a cave, and suddenly they transitioned and they went through the thing the same as people in channeling or.
We should go back to questions. Did he answer your question?
No, I'm getting there. So.
Oh, you're getting there.
But that's the thing. You see this reflective.
You
see this reflective phenomena. The phenomena keeps changing. So it starts as wooden ships, then it goes to Foo Fighters in World War II. Then it goes to green fireballs after World War II. Then it goes to the Damsky crafts. Then it goes to Betty and Barney Hill with the windows. There has not been a UFO with windows for 30 years. And they were dropping angel hair in the 1950s and 60s, 70s. Most people don't even know what angel hair is. It was big time, and they were always dropping this angel hair all the time in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Then it turned to triangles. I saw the first triangle in 1976. 76, the triangle started.
It's a trickster phenomenon.
And well, it's altering. It's altering according to your belief systems. And then, so now you come to the Skywatcher, and the first thing I saw when I saw 9 different objects, none of them are the same. They've got the one that's jellyfish. Then somebody was reporting the jellyfish, but it's a different jellyfish. It's got these arms hanging down, these like 6 meter long arms hanging off this jellyfish. And I'm going, come on, like you flew from 1,000 light years on a jellyfish? Come on, this is crazy. And the ones tumbling, they're all 9 are all different. And now the latest one, so Skywatcher did 9 new ones, and now you got a new one. They're all excited about this red square in the sky. And it's a 2-dimensional square. It's like putting a piece of paper in the sky. And now you're going to watch. Everybody's going to start seeing red squares. And that's what the phenomenon does. So let's give them this now. They see this, and they start chasing after this, and they chase after that. And what they're doing is they're just keeping us interested. They're changing it. And the phenomena is, that's what it's altering. You see, like people who talk light language, I don't know if you've gotten into that now, but that did not happen in 70. And suddenly my partner in Winnipeg is showing me this woman doing light language. I'm going, she's talking this, it's like speaking the tongues in Pentecostal, and she's doing this thing, and then suddenly I had a podcast, I had like 20 people who spoke light language, and I'm going, this is insane. It's just sort of like the phenomena is morphing. They're changing as we go along, and it's reflective of what you believe. So we have, like for example, there's a guy from Israel who had the beings come to him, and they were green, and people will say grace. So grace, I say, okay, grace. Take the grace, and I did a PowerPoint. I could do it sometime, PowerPoint, it's very short. I do a PowerPoint, so I take Betty Hill's gray, take Whitley Strieber's gray, and I say, do they look the same? And I go, no, they're not the same, not even close. And then I take Betty Andreassen's gray, then I take Nancy Tremian's gray, and I take this gray, this gray, this gray, and you start looking and you realize none of them are the same. They all look different. Everybody's describing grays, but when they actually draw them, even Terry Tabando showed me his from 1956, he said he had, and it had blue eyes. And it's like, hey, can I have that? Can I have? Because I want to put it with all these other grays, where people think they're seeing the same thing, and actually it's reflective of what you believe is what you're going to see. And so the Skywatcher thing is interesting in that respect. The other thing was that they had this, what they call the dog catcher, which the Canadians actually built one out of Toronto, and they took it to Mount Shasta. And so I do an interview, and I think it just went up on my YouTube channel.
Answer the question yet?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Can we do more Q&A?
Well, let me just finish this one thought here first. Where now I've lost my train of thought. So let's go.
The dog whistle.
The dog whistle. Yeah, the Canadians. The Canadians actually got.
Mike has a real question.
The Canadians actually got the dog whistle from the Skywatcher thing. The Canadians built it, and they had a sighting at Mount Shasta. Lasted for half an hour. So the Canadians were on it, and Yeah.
Yeah, Grant, I just want to ask if the 1947 Mac O'Donnell interview was legitimate.
Which interview?
Matilda O'Donnell, 1947, Roswell.
Was she the nurse?
Yeah, the nurse, yeah.
On the graves, I mean.
What about it?
Was it a legitimate interview?
I think most of those interviews were legit. They were talking about because they didn't have any real reason to.
And also, could you elaborate on like psychedelics, like bad experiences?
Oh yeah, well, okay. So
Thanks.
in psychedelics, that's the thing is what you take in. That's what they warn you is when you go under. Like John Hopkins was doing it for addictions and stuff like that. And the rule that you say is that everything that's going to happen is in consciousness. Everything's in consciousness. You got to realize it's all consciousness. And what's going to come in your head is stuff that you put in there. It's all consciousness. It can't hurt you. And it's the same as lucid dreaming. So what happens in psychedelics is you have a guide, and what the guide is there is they can't do anything because psychedelics. You take it. You're on the roller coaster. You ain't coming off until the roller coaster finishes. You can't just say, okay, I'm getting out of this. You're not getting out of it. So what happens is you go in with fear. So I was going in with a lot of fear, and the reason I wanted to do the psychedelics is because my assistant was channeling. I had all these people who had all this, they're getting this material, and I said, I want to be in the field. I want to see what this is like. To actually be in a world where it's not the same world as here, where you realize there's more to the world than what you're seeing out here. So then it took me a long time and decided, I got to do it, and then finally, so what I called the book The Psilocybin School. And what it basically said is when I went there, I said, okay, and you take the 5 grams. So I'm not taking a couple grams, I'm taking 5 grams. I'm doing the thing, that's the breakthrough dose, where you actually go into another sort of reality. And so I did it, and then I said, okay, I'm here to go to school. What do I need to know? I'm not here to get anything. I'm in the field. What do I need to know? And the first 6 were as clear as day. I knew within a couple minutes exactly what the lesson was going to be. One was on compassion, one was on despair, one was on death, and these things. So I wrote those up. But you talked about the bad experiences. So what happened with the bad experiences is you get in these experiences, and the reason you've got a guide is to stop you from getting these, because the main rule is surrender. So what happened was, one time I decided I'm not going to use the playlist. They have a playlist. It's a 6-hour-long playlist that John Hopkins developed, and you listen to this playlist, and the music is positive, negative, and stuff that goes up and down, and it takes you through your bad moments and your good moments, and they turn the emotion up to 10, and you're just vibrating as you're reliving these experiences and stuff like that. So I got in, I had the one where I decided, I'm going to meditate. I'm not going to use the playlist. I'm going to meditate. And that's when I got one of these bad experiences. And it was like being in hell. And what it was I'm in there, and these things are coming, choo, 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 and they're like little BB things that are colored, and they're making this whistling noise as they come by, and I'm trying to dodge these things. They keep coming, and they just went on and on and on, and suddenly I go like, this is not going to stop. And they make you believe it's going to go on forever. And I go, oh my God. I got nobody to blame but myself. I took the drug. I got nobody to blame. This is the way I'm going. This is hell. I'm going to live in hell forever. That's it. It's the way it's going to be. And that was surrender. And it was boom. It was gone. It was instantly gone. And I'm in the sort of like the samadhi experience. Love and gratitude and all this stuff. It was just like unbelievable. And so I said, okay, next time it does that, I'm just going to surrender. I'm going to get out of it. And nope. They did it again. And I think it was caused by this fear thing where you get into it, where you see something, like something would start to break apart like glass, and you'd see a woman and her face was starting to morph up and stuff like that. And the more you looked at it, you got scareder, and the more you got scared, the more it would do that. Instead of just, what happens with a guide is when you see something bad, you say, oh, I'm seeing this thing. And then you say, it's okay, you're okay, go towards it. And the same thing happens in lucid dreaming. We know because the lucid dreaming, they can actually put somebody in a lucid dream, and they can actually send a signal back. They can wire them up, and they can send the signal back. And the signal is you look left, right 4 times. And so you see it on the screen, left, right. And they're in the dream. They say, I'm in the dream and I'm awake. And then they give them things to do in the dream state and stuff like that. And in the lucid dream, it's the same thing. So if you see the devil coming towards you, then the idea is that you go towards it. So if I'm guiding you, if you're doing psychedelics and you're starting to have a bad experience, I just say, what's going on? Don't worry about it. Go towards it. Do not walk away. Go towards it. It will turn positive. Go towards it. Same thing happens in lucid dream. You go towards it. If it's the devil, if it's whoever you think it is, give it a big, huge hug, give it a kiss, and it'll turn into a positive being and give you a positive message. If you turn around and run, it's game over. And that's this thing about surrender and understanding that this stuff is being created by you for some reason, and that it's reflective, that whatever you're seeing. So that's where, in the beginning of the book, I wrote, surrender is the rule. Believe me, surrender is the only rule. And then later on, people started saying this type of stuff. The most powerful prayer is surrender. And that's this ego, this idea that our ego is what gets us in trouble. It's always fighting, I know better. That's the left brain, rational, analytical. I don't need a briefing. I know everything about everything. Don't tell me about this. And you just roll it as you're this super ego, and you'll see in very high tops of companies, you'll find people like this. My boss was like that. Just very, very sort of egotistical, rational. I can out-argue anybody and all this kind of stuff, and I know everything and stuff like that. And they have the opposite thing. It's this idea of surrender. So I had about 5 bad experiences, and in every one it was this idea that once I sort of surrendered. But now I'm still in a state where I was thinking of doing it again, and then I'm thinking, oh, do I want to go through that again? If it's suddenly I get pulled in that thing again, and it usually happens at the very beginning as you're going into it, and you'll see the lights and the shapes and stuff, and I go, I don't want to see lights and shapes, and then from then on I never saw lights and shapes again. I never saw them, and I had the experience where they showed me everything in the universe, and I don't remember what it was, because that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know unconditional love, because people described that, and I sort of felt that, and then at one point I thought I saw God. It was really weird, and it was like this sort of black thing, and it was blacker than the back, it wasn't light or anything.
You think there was a God?
But everything happens, it's like telepathy. Everything you feel everything. It's not like someone says to you, this is God. It was just like, there's God. And it's like, and it didn't make any sense, because it's like this black thing against the background. The edges weren't very established. And I looked at it and I go, you who I think you are? And it seemed to indicate, yeah. And I go, wow. Because it didn't make any sense.
Is that God for 3 trillion galaxies? Do you think it's really one God for 3 trillion galaxies?
Well, but God is I think the way this is my own personal thing. God did not create the heaven and earth. God created the sparks of the divine, and we're creating the heavens and the earth. Everything is made out of consciousness. If you go back and you see a rock is made, it has all these electrons. The main thing on a rock is oxygen in a rock. But you see all the atoms have these little electrons moving around in patterns. It has consciousness. How does this electron know where to go? And for 13.7 billion years without crashing into the photon,
wow,
or the nucleus. And that's the whole thing. So I basically say it's all made out of consciousness. And one of the things I studied that was an awakening moment, I saw Michael Newton lecture. Michael Newton is the guy who's in charge of the whole 7,000 people regression, the life between lives. So he would take someone in their last life, he'd let them die, take them in and say, okay, what's happening next? What's happening next? Oh, I'm going into this thing. We're going down these paths, and we're going back to our soul groups. And you go, okay, what color are you? And there's all these different colors people would describe themselves as. And you go to school and you learn all this stuff, and you plan your next thing, and you go back in this amphitheater and you see in your next life what you're going to do, what you're planning to do, and all these cues. You got to pick up these cues and stuff. And Michael Newton had the same thing, where he talked about this reflective nature, that it all happens, and it's all happening here and now, and that we are building. He would talk to people. He said, what are you doing? And the guy says, I'm building a rock. And he goes, you're making a rock? Well, I can't do plants yet, but I'm building a rock. And he's building a rock out of consciousness and energy. He's building it. That's what we do. So what happens is the Eastern idea, the Hindu idea, is the idea that the Buddhists, is that God is there, and then God moves. The whole idea of God moves, and the Maya begins. The illusion begins.
In Buddhism, there's no such thing as God. We renounce the concept of God.
But it's still a field.
We have natural laws like gravity or karma.
Yeah, but if you take it all back, there's going to be a field where the thing starts to move. So we're all God. We're all creating stuff, and it's all made out of consciousness. You think it's made out of physical stuff, and then you wonder why in an abduction experience they're taking you through windows. Because you're misunderstanding what's actually going on here, that it's all 99.99999% space, and even that is all space.
So I have a question, if you're done with Mike. I want to know where my hypothesis is wrong. I published like a 17-point hypothesis. It might be good for you to give me, but in my view, I studied this for about 3,000 hours since 2006. You probably studied it for about 50,000 hours. So in my view, I think in the 1950s they cracked, Stephen Greer says in October of 1954, they solved anti-gravity. So we probably have anti-gravity since, and in the 1990s, a lot of triangles, I think, are man-made triangles. So in my view, we have a secret space program, maybe going back to the 50s, at least since the 1990s, and Gary McKinnon is perhaps our best source around 2001 and 2002. Yeah, so is this true? Is my hypothesis wrong? I want to know. I want you to tell me what's wrong.
Not yours. Is Greer's hypothesis wrong? I think it's wrong because I'm listening to Jim Semivan, who says no, they may have little developments, but that's what we think. We think it's anti-gravity. But if you look at anti-gravity, how do you get to another solar system? What these people say, and I've got 36 people, and the people flying the craft with their mind, and they all say the same thing. And they say, the one guy, is a Mormon guy, his name is Ron Johnson, I've got a number of interviews with him. He says, they told me, Ron, where would you like to go? He said, I'd like to see the Milky Way from a distance. He said, okay, Ron, it is within you. Go within yourself. When you can imagine it, sit in the chair, put your fingers on the end of the chair. When you can imagine it, then we'll go there. He imagined it, he said, boom, like that. Instantly, in 1 second, he said, boom, the window opened up, and there was the Milky Way off in the
That's
distance.
kind of the Buddhist view. The Buddha said through this one fathom-like body, you can see the whole universe.
That you can move from place, these people are saying you can move from here to the other side of the universe instantaneously.
So maybe I've been misled by Stephen Greer, or maybe Linda Moulton Howe, some of her sources I don't trust. But I think Jim Semivan, all these people in the government, could they be holding back the truth? Could this all be a big psyop?
Well, yeah, they can't talk about it if it's classified, because when you get...
Yeah, maybe Jim Semivan is misleading you. That's my question. How do we know? Right?
Oh, you can't, but you put together the different sources and evaluate. So well, Stephen Greer, for example, we were talking to Ron Pandolfi on a podcast, and Ron Pandolfi, the rumor was that Ron Pandolfi, the CIA top guy, this guy that was going after me on Facebook and talked about portals and stuff, he's not talking about anti-gravity, he said loons, crooks, and worse, and he gave the reference to Greer as being one of the loons, but he said he's a happy loon, so he's okay, but he's a loon. The rest of is just same as the rest of them. And we asked the question, we said, it was asked by Sid Goldberg, who was a producer for Gaia. We were on this call, a Zoom call, and said, does Ron Pandolfi vet all Stephen Greer's material? And you hear this in the background. So Ron is never on the camera. He's standing on the other side of the room. And he goes, what material? And Goldberg didn't fall for it. So Goldberg says, does Ron Pandolfi vet all Stephen Greer's material? And there's just dead silence. And somebody goes, I think you just got the answer to your question. And this is the whole deal. He's dealing with Ron Pandolfi.
Well, I always thought of Greer as, since the 1980s, he's someone from within the government. He pretends to be a rebel, risking his life for disclosure. Well, but he is a government. He is an agent. In my view, he's been an agent for 40 years.
But that's what you've got to remember, is Greer got the big people in 2001. He got the huge number of people at that conference.
He's
so
an
if
agent.
you stick your head above the parapet, they're going after you. And as I said, there's 10 times as much money spent on the security. So you can bet that every 9 out of 10 witnesses that are coming to Greer are there to mislead him.
You talk to Gary McKinnon, he describes starships named after like the Majestic 12 people like Alec Dulles, Hill and Cochran. He actually saw starships in orbit, and then
he saw starships. I think he saw the names.
He said he saw a picture of it just as it was coming down. Then someone
because that was the days when we had the internet, where it was like you're on 29 baud or 50 baud or whatever. It's like
this is Gary McKinnon, very famous case.
Take 15 minutes for a photograph to.
And this went up between President Bush and Prime Minister Cameron. They want to send him to Guantanamo Bay. This is very serious. But he said he saw an actual photograph of a starship coming, and then it was stopped, and had the name of one of the Majestic 12 on it. So to me, that shows a real secret space program that the Americans or the globalists have.
Back in '75, people were saying to me, "Oh, you saw the Americans. We're near the Canadian border, so you saw the Americans." I said, "1975. My sighting happened 2 weeks after the end of the Vietnam War, my first sighting."
Wow.
And I said, "If the Americans had what I saw, should have done a little bit better in Vietnam than they did.
Yeah.
Why are we dropping bombs? We're still
think,
dropping bombs on helicopters, little drones. Drop the bomb."
But don't you think they're in outer space? Like I don't believe in the existence of the United States.
Why have we not seen the technology then? You haven't seen any of this technology.
Well, because according to Susie Hansen, she says the Greys feel and the Mantis feel. We certainly can't be trusted with the technology. We use it for war.
But Greer says we've got it. You're saying Greer says we've got it.
Yeah, I think we've got it. But Suze Hansen says we're not allowed to have it.
We'd see some of the technology. If it's been around since
Well,
54, that's
we're
when I
not
was
worthy.
born.
We're
So that's
not worthy
72
of it.
years.
Well, we use it for war, though. We're not worthy of the
I haven't
technology.
seen it war. We'd get released. When I see whistleblowers, when you asked about the Skywatcher, when I see the Skywatcher people come forward, I say the same thing, and I do it publicly all the time. I said, why the hell is this guy not in jail?
Yeah.
You can't, if you say, oh, I'm a whistleblower, I disagree with the U.S.
Well, what about
nuclear
Corey
program,
Goode?
I'm going to release all the nuclear secrets. No, you're not. It's classified.
Well, why is Corey Goode not in jail, and why is
Because
Tony Rodriguez?
Ron Pandolfi says it's all loons, crooks, and worse. It's all
Yeah, they're just making it up. It's bullshit.
He said nobody's going to arrest you if you're making it up. But if and that's the whole thing.
But look at Gary McKinnon, the president of the United States wanted him in Guantanamo Bay, so he was telling the truth. So in your view, are you saying
they wanted him arrested because he had managed to get into the American
Yeah, but they're very upset about it.
computer system because everybody was using password for the password.
Yeah, but do you feel we have man-made spaceships right now going to the moon?
Until I see some sort of technology that they can show me some technology they got. Bigelow, why would Bigelow quit?
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Like,
Well, no,
I want to see if my hypothesis is wrong.
Well, it's Gru's hypothesis. You're just copying
I need
Gru's
you to
hypothesis.
tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I'm not sure you're wrong. I'm just saying
I could be wrong.
that there's the thing that's missing is number one, why are these guys not in jail?
Yeah.
Because this is when I did the thing on flying the craft. You put your hand on the craft and it's mental, and that's how they move the craft around. Then suddenly these guys came forward with psionics, the Skywatcher guys. It's like, hey, I had that idea. You just stole my idea, man. You just changed the name to psionics. It's like, oh, we're controlling the craft. We're flying the craft and stuff like that. And it's like, if that's not classified, that the American government is flying around crafts and bringing crafts down and capturing crafts. That's not classified. What's classified? Why is this guy not in jail?
But couldn't that be gradual disclosure? Like, say, David Grush, he says he quit or whatever. I think he's an intelligence agent. He testified before Congress, July 2023. So I think David Grush is still acting under orders. It's all a big act. It's all a big show. It's all gradual disclosure, which is a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, but
I'm just wondering, is that your view? What do you think?
I've always written that there's gradual disclosure. People told me I wrote in 1989, my first book, I wrote about gradual disclosure.
Do you think David Grush continues to be a government agent, pretending that he's left the government? What's your view on David Grush?
That he gets permission. If you listen to Lou, for example, Lou Elizondo was the main guy.
Yeah.
And so when Lou Elizondo first came forward, he said, they asked him about, is there Roswell stuff? He says, well, I can't. I've got a security clearance. I can't answer that question. So if he's got a security clearance, he can't answer that question. That means somebody is watching what he says. Somebody above him has the clearance, and if he says the wrong thing, he's going to jail.
Does that indicate you that they have, like, I don't believe
they're all getting permission to do this stuff. For example, Elizondo, the one book, I have written 4 books on disclosure, the one about Elizondo. So Elizondo, this is sort of assumed, everybody assumes everything happens by accident. So Elizondo retired October the 4th, 2000 and...
This is October the 4th today.
2000,
What's it mean?
2017. He retires in the morning. In the afternoon of the day he retired, he has a meeting with the New York Times, Jim Semivan, Hal Puthoff, and Bob Bigelow.
I have a drinking with this.
Yeah, and so they have the meeting that same day, and then a week later he's with Tom DeLonge, on stage with Tom DeLonge, and to me, when that thing happened,
right? Then
they showed the videos. Everybody's seen the Nimitz videos, and they say, oh, they got permission. It's like, bull. You do not. When he said, I resigned. I was upset with the government, and I just resigned. Which according to Pandolfi, means he's a contractor. He's not in the government. You don't just resign from the government. You resign if you're a contractor. So he resigned, and then he's got the film. So he's got the film.
The same control system, right?
But the film package leaked out. The mailing package leaked out, and the woman's name was Daryl Essex. And Daryl Essex was on there, and these 4 videos, which had the Nimitz video, were there. And when I say, when you resign and say, to heck with the Pentagon, I'm resigning, I disagree, they don't give you videos. They don't give you videos when you go. They don't give you a goodbye press. Here's some videos, videos. How do you get the videos out?
TikTok video, right?
How do you get the videos out?
Yeah.
It's classified.
Somebody does it on purpose.
Somebody's doing it. And so we got this Daryl Essex, and we looked it up. I had a friend contact the Pentagon, and sure enough, they said, bingo, you got a hit. She's in the public affairs office. Public affairs office is the one that's denying that they have any UFOs, and yet she.
So in your view, it's all under control. They're all completely under
They're
control.
gradually dropping stuff.
Yeah, so there's no loose cannons. There's no loose cannons. They're all under control. In my view, what do you think?
Yeah, well, that's possible, but I still say that you cannot release classified material. I mean, if it were me, I would arrest the guy. I don't care about
I guess they're allowing, like even Bob Lazar, when in 1989, right, Bob Lazar comes out, maybe like the way it happened is his wife was having an affair, and they decided, well, they better, he's insecure, so maybe they just let it happen. As part of gradual
how many people know
disclosure.
the Bob Lazar, the Area 51 story? Does everybody know the story? Okay, let me give you my version. And George Knapp bought 6 of my books, and for all the crew that was working on Area 51.
We should do a plug for Grant Cameron. How many books? 30 books? Buy his book. This was I'm getting a kick
Hang
out
on,
of
let me
it,
tell the story here.
Okay.
So George Knapp bought it because he said my version of Area 51 was the closest of any version he'd seen, and he was the guy that broke the story. So what happened was they had the crafts there, and they take Bob Lazar, and Bob Lazar is a wacko guy. He's flying a pirate flag. He's blowing up stuff in the desert. He's got a jet engine car. He's just like crazy man. And so if you want to leak stuff, what you do is you give it to the guy who's got the worst. I'd say, oh, this guy's got this guy's got that, and who's going to believe him? So what they did is they took him on the base. He wanted to get on. He applies in November. In December the 6th, he's already on the base. He's got a top secret security clearance. It takes you 6 months to get a top secret security clearance. So how do you get a top secret security clearance in 2 weeks? And you tell her, they put him on there because they wanted him to see stuff. So they take him on. They show him the whole thing about you remember the underground base thing where they shoot out with the base, and they said it was under Dulce Base.
That was somebody else.
He saw the same story. They gave him a document. They gave him 125 pages of 125 different documents to read. And I say, I train people. When you train somebody, the second day they come in to work, you do not show them 125 highly classified documents for what's going on. You show them where the washroom is and where the door is. That's what it. I mean, there's no way. So they're giving him all this stuff.
He was
set up. But what they wanted, because he was friends with John Lear. That's what everybody misses. He was friends with John Lear, and so he knew that they knew he was going to take it to John Lear. John Lear would go public with the story. And everybody knows John Lear's a whack job.
So it was
John
planned.
Lear,
It was planned. That
it was
way.
all planned.
Because in our UFO meetup group, we didn't believe Bob. Sorry, we made fun of him around 2010. Now I realize, well, he was the real deal.
Yeah,
so
but he was only on the base. He was only on the base about 6 times. That's what other people don't realize. He was only on the base. That's why he was taking people out to see the test.
Yeah.
So if he's this low-level guy who's only been on the base 6 times, how does he know when the test is? It was Wednesday night. Even Linda Howe was trying to go out there. It was Wednesday night because the military does the same time every week. And they took his friends out there. Why would they tell him when the test was? If he's not a main guy, he's just a part-time guy out there. So what happened was on December 6th, he was on there and he was inside the craft.
1989, right?
89, and so he goes in the craft. He's sitting in the craft. He's got these little tiny seats or whatever, and then he goes back to John Lear and he says to John, he said, "I was on the base today." And John says, "You were?" So is it real? And he said, "Yeah, it's real." Is it theirs or is it ours? And he said, "It's theirs." And he said, "Oh, what the hell are you doing in my house? You know they're going to be tapping the house. Like they're going to be watching you. What are you doing here? Get the hell out of here. Go back for 6 months and then come tell me what's going on." But they told John Lear, and then John Lear starts telling the story. So from December the 6th till May of 1989, John Lear has the story.
1990.
No, 88 first, 88, 88 in December of 88 till May of 89 is when they did the first interview with KLS TV.
Yeah.
So from December till May, John Lear had the story. He was running around telling everybody, "Oh, they got UFOs at Area 51," and everybody went, "Yeah, it's John Lear. John Lear's crazy. Don't listen to John Lear." Nobody believed it. But what happened in May? George Knapp phones John Lear and he says, "Hey, you said you got that guy at Area 51 that says he's working on a flying saucer. I'm missing a guest tonight. The guest pulled out. I need a guest at 6 o'clock tonight. Let's get your buddy on there." So they bring him on. They backlit him. They go to his house. They backlight him. They call him Dennis, which was his contractor guy's name, and they backlit him. And now it's no longer crazy John Lear telling the story. Now it's KLS TV, George Knapp, who's got 24 Emmy Awards, not telling the story, and it just went viral because it's who's telling the story.
But my point is the U.S. government wanted that to happen. I don't think the U.S. government exists.
They wanted it under control.
Yeah, I think
George
it's just
Knapp
one
even
global
said
government.
if they wanted this as a disinformation thing, that you should hang the guy that came up with the idea, because it was totally. What happened was everybody started going up. There was buses because we were writing the book as it was happening. There was buses going up into the mountains and looking down on Groom Lake. Now they got a problem. Not only is the story backfired. Now you got all these people, and they're looking at this highest top secret base in the world, and they're sitting there with telescopes and stuff, and they're watching what's flying around the base. And the Clinton actually took millions of miles of acres of territory away to Clinton to move them. They were at 11 miles looking at the base, and they moved them back to 25 miles. You couldn't get within 25 miles of the base.
A lot of people lost their ranch and farm.
And that's the whole deal. It was they had to they lost control of the story.
So I think your point is the government planned that. It was okay with them. It wasn't a problem.
They wanted John Lear to tell this story forever. This weird story about.
But in your view, do you think there's such a thing as a sovereign United States? Like in my view, there are 195 countries do not exist. We have one global government in the city of London. There's no such thing as a sovereign nation. The United States is not a country. So this is controlled by globalists. I would say the Rothschilds in the city of London are controlling it.
Well, not anymore. Now it's controlled by the guys in Silicon Valley and all Trump's buddies.
Well, no, I still think it's a Rothschild, so I could be wrong. Well, I want to ask you about the reptilians.
The people with the money are running the show.
But don't you think it's reptilians, though, behind these people?
No, I don't know.
Because you mentioned reptilians earlier.
I basically say there's no, when I come down to it, I basically doubt there's aliens. I think it's all
spiritual.
They can screen image whatever they want.
Like Davis,
in fact, one guy, the original guy that John Mack had, his name was Stan. He was the guy who was taking people on the ship, and he was making them watch the screens of the environmental devastation. He was one of John Mack's clients, and he said he's the guy that came up with the idea of screen imaging. That the beings could screen image whatever they wanted.
You see an owl.
So you think you're seeing an alien, and you're seeing an owl, or my friend saw the rabbit going down the road. Hey, Candace, tell the story about the rabbit again. And it turned out it was these beings or whatever. But he said the being was there, and he was dressed up like a military guy. And this is the whole deal. They can appear as men in black and have helicopters and stuff like that, and come in, and you think it's the government and stuff. And no, they're just screen imaging. And the guy came in as this military guy, and this. I can't remember the guy's name was. He says to him, you're just screen imaging. You're not fooling me. I'm on to you. You're screen imaging. In fact, you haven't even got the right uniform on. He said, like that. Instantly, the uniform changed to the right uniform. Instantly.
So you're saying maybe they're just spiritual beings, like the Buddhist view of devas, and Buddhism is all the devas. Like devas are like light beings that can take on physical form. In fact, Buddha said it's a hallmark of the devas, shape-shifting. It's very common. So it sounds like you're close to the Buddhist view.
Because you got to remember, Brian, you got to remember who you actually are. You are an etheric being.
That's right.
Playing a puppet. Because you played King Henry VIII in high school doesn't mean you're King Henry VIII. You're not King Henry VIII. You're playing a puppet on the stage. All the world's a stage. All the men and women are actors. They have their entrances and exits. Each man plays many roles. The guy that was the Israeli guy, the Israeli experiencer, had the being. The being said to him, when we come into your world, we take on a body. We can take on whatever body we want. We don't need to, but we need a body to work in your world. You can do the same thing. You just don't realize it. And
so
that's
what
the whole
about
thing.
all the people like Susie Hansen, my highest source? Like she's seen white Nordics. I don't know if I don't know about Arcturians and others, but there's grays, there's tall grays, there's short grays, and then there's the ancient grays, the wise ones. Then there's the mantids.
Okay.
Do you think they exist, those as physical ETs?
Well, they're coming in. They're etheric beings, the same as everybody else. So what are they actually doing?
As well, right?
The thing is, what are all these beings doing? That's the other thing that nobody ever questions. Is if you're on a ship, and I say, what's going on? So you get first incidents with the grays, and then you come and tell me, well, the reptilians got me last night, and then it's like, what are they doing? Passing people around. Like if you're dealing with the Pleiadians, how does suddenly the Zeta Reticuli got you? And nobody questions that.
They work the Federation of Planets. They work together. That's what Jeff Silver would say. It's the Federation of Planets all work together. He lives here in Vancouver.
Yeah, well, people have that idea. That's what Linda Howe has, that idea that there's the good guys and the bad guys. I had lots of dinners with Linda Howe where I'm arguing with this. Linda, let's not go down this road. Linda, we don't agree on this. Let's not do it again.
See, if I'm wrong, I want you to tell me.
There's good aliens and there's bad aliens. She goes, there's good aliens and bad aliens. I said, Linda, are aliens telepathic? Yes, they are. I said, okay. So if you're a good alien and a bad alien, how do you sneak up on the guy? If they're telepathic, they know what's going on. Like, how do you sneak up on the guy? You got in your reward. You got to sneak up on the guy.
Maybe we're the bait. They're playing with us. They're not fighting with each other.
Well, she says they're fighting. They're fighting over the earth.
Over us.
In fact, if you go, you can take Linda Howe Bashar. I saw it the other day again. Linda Howe and Bashar. So she goes to Bashar. She says, Bashar, this thing about the aliens and all that stuff. She goes, no. And then she says, oh, well, what race? She gets frustrated and she says, okay, so what race should we really be afraid of? And he goes, you. And she goes, me personally?
Yeah.
No, you, the humans. You don't realize how reality is built. You have this thing of fear of we're victims, and there's all these people, things doing stuff to us.
I think we shouldn't be so distracted by nitty-gritty like fact checking
Yeah.
because it's all like perspectives anyways.
Yeah.
So rather than looking for nitty-gritty fact checking, we should focus on what they're pointing to. Jesus, Buddha, we come with empty-handed, right? Buddha, we go empty-handed. Knowing ET exists or not doesn't do anything, right? We have to grow each individual. And
Julie's an experiencer. She's had grace. She's one of our star experiencers.
But
Very shy to talk
I
about
don't
it.
need to get approval from others. What that did to me was it brought a big transition into my life where I was negative, now into positive, because I was pushing everything like, who am I, right? From who am I to whatever. And one layer at a time, I was just trying to getting into my core self.
Yeah.
Then, so that triggered me.
Yeah, that's what was shown when they did the 4,200 experiencers. Over 70% said it was a spiritual revelation when it came right down to it.
Yeah.
And that 83% said they were asked if you could stop it, would you stop it? And they said, no, don't stop it. 83%. Everybody's got the idea when it first happens to you, you're upside down. You don't know what's going on, and then you're all angry or whatever. And then as you work, and suddenly people. I made the joke about Chris Bledsoe. I was with Chris Bledsoe when this thing all started, and he went from a guy who didn't want to talk because he was in, had the Baptists and the Pentecostals, and he was thrown out of the church, and all this sort of stuff. And his kids were ostracized in school, and they wouldn't talk to him, and it was just horrible. And he went from not wanting to talk, and then suddenly he started to get some attention. And now he's like the Messiah. You can't shut the guy up. I mean, it goes from negative, and then when you start to realize what it is, this idea like you have some sort of mission that may be something that you asked for instead of playing the victim. Because everybody knows that as long as you play the victim, you're never going to get cured. It's simple psychology. You have to, whether it's your fault or not, you take responsibility for the whole thing, and you realize that it's this inner, and that's what the beings are telling you. It's within you. That a lot of them said. Where do you want to go? It's within you. And so the question is, why are they saying that? Why are they saying go within yourself? Or out-of-body experience people will say, you have to go within to go without. You're not going anywhere. Everything is, or what Greer says. Greer has in his protocols, when he does the setup thing, he said, the Sufi expression, you see yourself as a puny form when within you is enfolded the entire universe. That's the bottom line. The entire universe may be within you. There's just here and now. There's this thing where he says you cannot. It's indigestible. When you start talking about this kind of stuff, or in the mystical stuff, that all your lives are happening at the same time. Everything's happening is only here and now. Everything's happening, and people are going, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, what are you talking about? Like, is that true? I don't know. Is the past happening right now? Like, I don't know if that's true. It's hard.
The narrative is like all the patterns of all the religions, like Toltec, whatever. I think it's just covered with all this, like you have to wear this and then go around this cube, whatever, But for what, right? I think what it all comes down to is that to just layer off all the illusions one at a time, question everything, and then just find yourself.
Yep.
Then you can click into whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, who is yourself? That's what the idea. Remember who you actually are.
Yeah.
You're an etheric being here on a visit. And it's like the idea is that when you die, you're going to realize that was a dream. And more importantly, when you live your next life, you leave your incarnation, you're not even going to remember this dream. So why are we so concerned about it? You got to realize that we're coming in and out. Something else is going on, rather than how many toys can you get and all this kind of stuff. That there's something bigger happening than.
Yeah. I mean, it could be all my delusions, but definitely I'm happier than before, so I'll just go with it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, and a majority of people are. The first one, people will start where it's negative, and that's what they say.
Yeah.
If you talk to the people who are very negative, they've only had one experience. And if you talk to people who have worked through it, regression, I know most of the major regressionists in the world. I asked one out of L.A., Yvonne Smith. I said, Yvonne, you do regressions to these people, and when you do the regression, they're all upset. Upset. They don't know what's going on. I can't sleep at night. I got the light on, all this sort of stuff. I said, has anybody after you regress them, when they left the room, has anybody been worse off? She said, never. Always better. It's the old idea that when you expose it to the light, then suddenly you realize, and then these people, you see the attitude change, And most people will become like these messiahs, where they're very happy that it happened. They're more spiritually enlightened, and that's this whole idea about trauma, which is we had in the contact modality book. When you take a look at people who are very evolved, you think that they're lucky, and you realize they had this, or UFO experiencers. So you say that's a random experience. You were on the street and somebody grabbed you off the street and abducted you or whatever. So that's a random experience. But then when you do the poll, you find out that 37% of all people who claim they've had contact with non-human intelligence have had a near-death experience. And I say most of them have had 2 near-death experiences. And so is that random too? Is it random that you have a near-death experience and you're also getting abducted? It's not random. You're planning this. And the reason is because it's this thing that's going to be a trauma, and it's going to open you up, and you're going to grow through that. You don't grow through the things that are going good. We grow through the things that are force us to surrender. And once you surrender, then it opens up.
Any more questions? Anyone on this side? Anyone?
You know, I got a question.
Yeah.
Project Camelot. They interviewed a guy, William Tompkins. I don't know. What do you think of William Tompkins?
I don't have a very good view of him. I mean,
No?
well, at the end, he wanted money. I can't remember his story. There was parts of his story that he was having sex with this alien and all
And
this
he
stuff.
said he designed these spacecraft. No, I think he's a total fraud. He says he
Yeah,
designed
like-
spacecraft. It's absolute
He
total
likes-
fraud.
Yeah, he
Total
was
fraud.
building scaled ships, like whatever ships the Navy built.
He was a
made, like,
designer. He
mini
drew
scales.
illustrations. He did draw illustrations.
Yeah, he's a strange character. There's so many of them. I figured that wasn't getting us anywhere, because it's always the thing where somebody comes on and then they tell their story and then it sort of fades away, and then somebody else comes in with another story, and a lot of it I don't think it's got to do with money. It's got to do with they want to be part of the story. They want to.
And this is part of a psyop. Maybe he's a patriotic American. He feels a psyop.
Well,
is
the
necessary.
psyop stuff people would encourage. The government
yeah.
would encourage
Yeah.
these people.
But maybe
if
he's
they knew-
actually patriotic.
That's what Pandolfi told us at one point. We asked him about some whistleblower, and he said, "Yeah, he can talk what he wants." So, because they said he went through Dobster. Oh, he went through Dobster. Well, Dobster doesn't say it's true or not. It just says, "Are you releasing anything that's classified?" He made the whole thing up. It's nothing classified, so Dobster's not going to stop him. Let Dobster say, "Yeah, you can
He
go with your
wasn't
story."
punished, right? He wasn't punished.
Yeah,
for
because Pandolfi said he made up the story, so he's a loon, crook, and worse. That's what he
I'm
said.
glad you asked the question. You know, I'm glad. Any more questions?
Yeah, there's.
We should get more
Well,
questions this
I've
side.
been like watching YouTube videos of whistleblowers for a long time. So I've watched William Tompkins. What about Max Spears? Max Spears or James
don't-
Caswell?
No.
No. Okay.
No, there's so many of the whistleblowers. It's like
How about Tony Rodriguez? What do you think of Tony Rodriguez? He's after
Tony Rodriguez.
Tony Rodriguez after Corey Good. You know them, right?
Corey Good. Yeah, that
No,
was,
Tony Rodriguez is the next guy. Corey Good is paid $500 per episode. Great, I'm gonna in the money, and he admits, I lied about the whole thing. 6 hours of videos in court, 2022. I lied about the whole thing, but I'm suing those guys because they have my intellectual property. You know about that, right?
Well, yeah.
Wait, what?
Corey Good is suing Tony Rodriguez and the rest of them for using his. He said, he said, you can't write a story about Han Solo from Star Wars because that's copyrighted material. That's my intellectual property. So he meant it's a whole.
That you guys are talking about, but I experienced because I worked myself. So if you want to meet in the middle, like he said, working yourself. Why is it important? How does he know? How could he know possibly?
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like the Rodney Dangerfield effect, where Rodney Dangerfield always used to say, "I don't get any respect."
No respect
And
at all.
UFOs, we're doing the same thing. We're trying to prove UFOs exist. It's like UFOs exist. Let's get over it. We don't need more whistleblowers to prove it. They're just trying to prove it, and everybody feels bad about it because people are laughing at them. And they want to prove to their neighbor or whatever that this is actually real. The more important story is, it's real, and why are they here, and what's actually going on, and that you have to go to the experiences, which in the Soul Conference, the big one now, they will not bring in consciousness thing. They say we don't want any woo woo in the
That's
in
terrible,
the in the,
right?
con- in the we're going to prove to people that it's real. And then we'll go to the consciousness stuff. We don't deny it's real, but first we're going to teach them. And it's like, you did this in 1947. You're doing it again. It's like, how many times? What's the definition of insanity? You do the same thing over and over and over for 80 years and assume you're going to get a different result. This guy's story, and this is real. And it just keeps we've been doing this over and over again, and nobody will talk to the experiencers. Nobody will except for the people at the top. And I'll tell you the one story I had is I knew Chris Bledsoe, and Chris Bledsoe was an experiencer, and I had the very dramatic experience with him at the house. They were all following him around. So the government, and this goes to this thing, what does the government know?
No, we got 10 more minutes before social time, half an hour social time.
So he goes to this, the guy's name is Tim Taylor. He works with Elon Musk, and he's known as the Dragon. He's got a dragon tattoo, and Elon Musk as the Dragon, and he's a very high level guy in NASA. And he's the guy who had the download. He sold this invention that he got from the beings. He believes he's in tap with these beings. They're giving him these medical inventions. And I met him at this event in 2013 before he went undercover. And he was watching experiencers. And he was watching Chris Bledsoe. Chris Bledsoe said, "My whole family has been destroyed. Why are you and all these military and contractor people on my property? You're just destroying my kids, won't talk to me anymore." And he said, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" And he said, "Well, Chris," this is Tim Taylor, top guy in the black world. He says, "Well, Tim," he says, "Well, Chris," he said, "here's the thing. They seem to like you. This stuff's happening around you, Chris. They seem to like you. They don't like us, Chris. They don't talk to us. So we're here to find out what they're saying to you." So I met this guy at a cabin in Pennsylvania, and he's there, and he's telling me about this download invention that he sold on NASDAQ for $100 million, and he's got 40 patents, and he drinks this water, and the beings are talking to him, and he's giving him all these medical inventions and stuff. He's telling me all this sort of stuff, and I'm going, "Oh, that's cool, you know." And I didn't realize he was as high level as he was, because he just told me who he was. And then he went undercover, and then people started telling me who he actually was. And I go, "I actually met this guy." And he said, "Oh, I got these women that I follow. One of them, I think, used to live in Manitoba near you." I said, "Where?" He said, "Steinbach." I said, "Hey, that's like 30 miles out of Winnipeg." He said, "Would you like to talk to her?" And I go, "Yeah." So he gets his cell phone. This is high-level black ops guy. Gets his cell phone. He calls her up. "Hey, Connie, Grant's here. Hey, you would like to talk to him?" And I talked to her, and she told this story, 5 years old, had the experience, and she's on the internet, and he's watching her. She's having all these visions of what's going to happen. She's got all these events that are happening, and she's writing all this stuff down for her, and he's watching her. And that's the whole point, is she's a contactee. And so if Tim Taylor, this high-level guy, is doing it, why is everybody else not doing it? They're still into this idea we're going to prove that UFOs exist, and who's got the best video, and then you get into a position where you get set up, because if you're looking for the next video, then somebody puts out a fake video, and everybody wants to be first. So everybody posts it, everybody's got exclusive, and everybody's retweeting it, and it's all over the place, and there's millions of people watching it, and then someone comes and says, "Oh, it's a hoax," and prove it's a hoax. And they go, "Oh." And then just wait for the next video to come. And the government can put in videos all the time because they know you're going to jump on it. You're going to put it all over the place. It's so easy to set you up because you're still in this thing of trying to prove UFOs exist. I guess I had the advantage that it was in, as I said, it was in so close, this thing, and it came from the left to the right. We were driving around, we're saying, "What are they looking at?" Because this thing was there all the time. We said, "What are they looking at? What are they looking at?" Whatever they're looking at isn't very interesting. And then when the thing appeared from the left coming to the right in front of the car, nobody said, "Is that it? I wonder if that's what they're looking at." Everybody said, "There it is." It's like, holy shit. I go, "There's miracles. Oh my God, there's actually miracles. This is for real." I was just so blown away. So I never had to go to trying to prove to people it existed. I was sitting close. And it's almost like they wanted me to see it so close that I would never doubt that and get on to the next step. And that's what's happening in the UFO community. We still are telling stories about UFO sightings and videos and stuff like this, and we're just circling around the same thing we've done for 80 years. And we got to get to the point where there are people, and this is my idea, there's a field, all the information is in the field. The people will tell you this over and over again. All the material's in the field. That's how inventors, that's the book. That's the whole music book. Where does a musician, I said a musician, say, where do you get your music from? And they go, "I don't know. Just comes." And that's the whole idea. Where's music come from? They asked Bob Dylan, where did you, "Blowing in the Wind," you wrote this famous song.
He said he went out to the crossroads. You know that famous interview with Dylan in 1985 with Morley Schaefer? He said, "I went out to the crossroads and I made a deal with the commander-in-chief in this world and the next."
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah. But they asked him, "Blowing in the Wind, where did you get Blowing in the Wind? Where did that come from?" And he goes, "I don't know, that wellspring of creativity, I guess."
Yeah, imagine.
and I got, how many songs were in under, guess who? I came from Winnipeg. The story,
Guess
I'll stop, and then people, if there's the last
Guess
question.
Who is good,
Guess Who is the biggest band ever to come out of Canada.
Yeah.
They wrote, an American Woman is their biggest song. So they told the story. If you look it up, this is a true story. And I think it's in this book. They were playing in Mississauga, Ontario. They're between sets, and Burton Cummings, the singer, the lead singer, is in behind because Bachman has broken a string on his guitar. So they've gone to the second set. He's in the back. He's buying records from some guy, and then he says he hears Bachman's got he's tuning up his guitar. He says, "I gotta go. I'll get those records later. I gotta go. The second set is starting." He goes running onto stage, and Bachman's playing the opening for American Woman. Da, 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 da. He goes, "Sing something." He goes, "American Woman, stay away from me." And he starts singing the song, and they sing this whole song, and then they see there's a kid in the front. He's got a handheld tape recorder. He's got the tape recorder. He's holding it up, and then they go, "Hey, manager, this kid's got a tape recorder. He's got to bootleg the show." So they go and they get the tape off this kid, and then they're after the show. Guess who is sitting in the back, and they're in this thing, and they're playing this tape. Beginning of the second set, this American Woman thing. They all look at each other and go, "Where'd that come from?" And they go, "I don't know." And they go, they didn't write it. They don't remember singing it. There was nothing. They hadn't been to the kid. They hadn't been to the kid with a handheld tape recorder. American Woman, the song would not have existed. It was one of these. I have a lot of these spontaneous songs where somebody's going like Yesterday, the most produced song of the 20th century. He wakes up in the middle of the night and the song is in his head, and there's a piano, and he like all musicians can't read music because that's left brain. They're all right brain. They just a song comes in their head and they play it and they remember the song. So he sort of plays the song to get it down what it is, and then he goes around for a month or 2 months. He's saying, "You heard this song before?" And they go, "Never heard that song." He figured someone had played the song. It was that clear.
He just used the word scrambled eggs.
He changed the lyrics, but
John said, "You got to make a song out of that."
Yeah, and it was the big.
Paul
And
McCartney.
you see all these like "Let It Be" by McCartney. "Let It Be" is their other famous song, and that was at the end of the Beatles' reign. The Beatles were breaking up. Harrison had already left the band. He was doing drugs. He was divorcing his wife. It was all just going to hell, and he had this dream, and his mother, who had died when he was 14 years old, came to him in the dream, and she said, "Paul, it's okay. Let it be. It'll be okay." And that's where the song, "When in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be, let it be." And you don't realize where these songs are coming from, and they're pulling them out of the field. And that's what happened when I had this download experience. It was a knowing. It wasn't an answer, it was the answer. This is how it works. I knew this is how it works. And so I said, somebody else got to have this. And that's when I found a book called McCartney had gotten this song, and it was like you get the stuff and you can pull it out of the field. So the contact modality ideas, we find these people who can get the stuff out of the field. We find out how do you do it, and can I do it? And I couldn't do hypnosis, I couldn't do meditation, I couldn't do all this kind of stuff. That's why I did psychedelics, because I wanted to get in the field. I knew there was this field with all the material, and I wanted to get these answers, and I wanted to get in the field. That's why I did psychedelics. Whereas other people can do, they can read. There's, people, mediums, and people who have all sorts of talent to get in the field. And you got to listen to these people, because these people that's where the real material is. There's no garbage in the field. It's going to be the actual answer. There's a guy out, and this is the last thing I'll say. There's a guy, I do savants. So I do savants. In fact, I've got a YouTube going up right away that's going to talk about savants. So you get this guy, his name was George Finn out of New York. He was interviewed by 60 Minutes. So they're talking to George Finn. And the question is, where's this stuff coming from? So I go to George. "Hey, George, okay, on July the 11th, 1939, what day was that?" "It's a Tuesday." And then he'd be able to tell you the weather of that day, as long as he was alive. He could tell you what the weather was that day and what day of the week it was and stuff. And they're asking him all this stuff. And then they said, "George, that's just amazing. I mean, that's just amazing." He says, that's good. I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. And the guy can't button his shirt. He doesn't know how old he is. Nothing. I mean, he's just like, he's verbal, but he's very autistic. And so then he says, "Okay, George," and you figure he's calculating. It's called calculating. And you say, "Okay, George, tell me what's 5 times 7? And he goes, "Would that be 40? And he goes, "What's 2 times 3? Would that be 10? He doesn't know it. Simple math is left brain. He can't do simple math, but he can do this other stuff. So the question is, where's George getting this stuff from? He never learned it. He didn't go to school, and he's pulling this stuff out. And that's the whole idea. There's a field, and it's the idea to pull this stuff out of the field. And that's where the beings are. They're in this higher vibrating field. And the whole idea is, so if you go on board the ship and they show you the answer to everything in the universe, then the beings know the answer to everything in the universe. You didn't get to bring it back, but they know the answer to everything in the universe. So they're not here to collect rocks or plants or figure out stuff. They know how it all works. They're doing something very much different, and that's the idea. But the only way you're going to get it is to talk to the people who are actually interacting with them. And what do they tell you? Go into regression, and you start seeing these very definite patterns. In fact, one of the patterns was, and this came, Jim Semivan said this, and he doesn't even know. I'm waiting to interview him, so I'm going to bring this up. And he says, I'm there, and his beings are standing there. I'm with my wife, and he said, we're on the front lawn. And then they fly off, and he says, I hope they don't effing come back. And then his wife didn't remember anything, but he remembered, and he goes back. They go back to bed, and so he says. They said the interviewer's trying to get him to talk about it. He said, "I don't talk about it. They're investigating. I don't want to talk about it." And he said, "Well, was there any telepathy?" And he goes, "That was the most interesting part." He said, "I was standing there, and there was this being standing behind me, and had this guardian type thing going on about it." And I said to the interviewer, "Phone him back. Find out. Is it the left side or right side? Because your guardian angel stands on your left side behind you, and this thing is standing behind him with this guardian type thing." And then I suddenly realized, hey, the colonel, there was this guy, he's a U.S. Air Force retired colonel out of Los Angeles. His name was David. He told me the story. He said, "I'm standing on the craft, and somebody's behind me telling me what to do." And then I said, "He's telling you what to do?" And he said, "Yeah." And he told me, "Go and do it." And he said, "I don't know what to do." He said, "You know what to do, just do it." And he put his hands on the paddle, and suddenly he's flying the craft. And then I suddenly realized there's this pattern that somebody's behind. And it's like, is it a guardian angel? Is there a guardian angel behind you on board the craft? So I went to Whitley Strieber and I said to Whitley, "Hey, Whitley, you were abducted? You had all these experiences?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You ever have anybody standing behind you that you knew was there and you couldn't turn around and look at him?" He said, "All the time." He said, "I told you that story. I was sitting in front of the panel and they were behind me. Somebody was behind me. And I was sitting on the panel and I said, 'Hey, I'd love to steal this thing.'" And then he said somebody behind him started laughing telepathically. And that's the whole thing. You see that, or you see on board the ship and people will say, "I can see in 360 degrees." If you're going to make up a story about being on a ship, you're not going to make up the story that you could see in 360 degrees. And that's just, it doesn't make any sense. And you start to see these patterns, or you touch the craft and you're able to move anywhere in the universe you want just by thinking about it. And that gets the idea, are you actually moving across the universe, or is it all, as I said, here and now? It's all here and now. Or as Jim Semivan says, there does not appear to be any there out there. And I say to people, what is he talking about? He got that 7-hour briefing. When he says there does not appear to be any there out there, what the hell is he talking about? So I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Well, let's have a round of applause for, I guess, Canada's number one ufologist in all Canada. Glad he moved here.
Yeah.
So now is our social time. We can talk one-on-one. Just for the meetup group, I just want to make an announcement. We have a few meetups booked here for Surrey. I'll just switch those to either the Coquitlam Library or the downtown library, so that's upcoming. And we'll book more. Also, I'm looking to put together like a steering committee for the meetup group. There's meetings in person in the city, and then we have 1,000 members. Most of them are in the United States, so then we have online Zoom. So it's like two different aspects of the meetup. So I'd like to have a steering committee for people in the city and a steering committee for, well, I guess the same steering committee on for Zoom type videos. So I'm going to send out a notice to the members. We have like 1,000 members, but if anyone's interested in part of a steering committee planning future meetups. So this is, I think, like we were talking before the meeting, this is the most important issue in the entire world. We have 11 people at this meeting, so it's great. We have Grant here in the city. So
You're
Grant,
chosen. You're the chosen.
and you can come back for the third talk. Grant gave talk 2 weeks, so you'll come back another time, I hope.
And if anybody wants, my email address is whitehouseufo@gmail. And I'm always just off of Lougheed at McDonald's every morning from 8:45
Can they
till,
join you at McDonald's for breakfast?
8:45 till 10:15 to sit there. So anybody who happens to be in that area
Well,
at
your
the time, I'm
your
there
email,
every day.
they can just go to Grant Cameron. You have a website. They'll probably find your email there too as well. He's a pretty famous guy. 32,000
Yeah, well-
subscribers on YouTube, right?
Yeah, 50,000 on Twitter, but
Wow. So
but yeah.
that's how you measure yourself.
But people may have
12,000
personal questions. Like
subscribers.
I did the one with a girl since I got here. That same thing. Well, a lot of people don't want to tell their story. So what I've done now, what people may want to do with the story, is because of AI, and we know how to work AI now. And what we do is she told me her story, so I said, okay, I'm going to sit here. I'm not going to say anything. Just turn it off. You just tell your story. Talk beginning, middle, whatever. Just tell it, and you just take it to AI and you say, oh, tell the story. And then I sit there and I think of questions while she's going, and then I ask her these questions the second time, and then I put it in AI, and then I say, because most of them, their family, this woman, her kids don't want anything to do with it, and I said, we're going to put it together, we're going to put a cover on it, she's going to put it on the shelf, and when she dies, her kids are going to pick this up and go, holy cow, what is this? And they're going to read her story, because they don't want to put it out, they don't want it public. But they want. I said, they want the story. So that's what we're doing now. We can actually take someone's story and within a day we can actually make it into like a book and have it where people, because once you start to tell your story, then you start to remember parts that you forgot, and and it starts to fit together better. And that's why I meet a lot with people personally, is because a lot of people are very sensitive about their story. And
I'm thinking right now, if people want to have a private conversation with you right now, I'll stop the
orbs?
Yeah, like the ones you saw.
Thank you. It just came from like behind it.
But you know, the last one at the library, we were so many people. So many people came.
HB Dawa
we got kicked out of there. You guys left early, but we got kicked out of there.
You did from the roof.
From the roof too. Yeah. So we're closing. So then we went down to the atrium, below there. We're standing outside. There's two guys and me. We're standing there talking. And then they come and say, we're closing the atrium. And say, okay, so we go outside. And then we go to the White's restaurant across the street or whatever. And we sit in there, and all of a sudden they say, oh, you got to leave. The restaurant's closing. We just got kicked out of the place after.
Oh, I would have loved to have stayed.
What kind of karma? UFO people get kicked out, right?
Yeah,
we're ahead of our time.
That's what happens if you ever see at conferences. Like, you don't sleep because you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning talking with people, and then you got to go up at 8 o'clock, and then next day it's the same thing. I'm going to go to bed early, and that's your 4 o'clock in the morning again. And then you go to, you get about 4 hours sleep a night.
It's amazing you made it to 71 after 50 years of all this stuff. You're still on.
I haven't been to one for a while, but they and then everybody wants to drink, and I don't really drink, but it's just people all over the place, and because they get the chance to tell their story or talk. Whereas at home, most people, their families just.
If people want to talk, they don't come to listen, they want to talk, right? That's why I find out about Meetup. So I should ask the question, our first meeting here in August, I was stunned that 45% of the people did not want to have their picture taken or be in the video. And so we decided the official policy on our website is people on this side agree to be filmed, and people on this side don't want to be filmed. So hands up who don't want to be in the picture or video.
I'll just move.
Okay.
I'm also okay with moving to that side.
So you don't want to be in picture or video?
I would take a picture with you afterwards.
Oh, but you should be on this side though, because I'm going to pan. We only have Q&A.
That's okay.
Poor you. It's gonna look like nobody's in the room.
Well, the meeting we had here, we had 13 people. Now we got about 700 hits on the video. And the meeting in that room, we had 9 people and 7 speakers. 7 speakers and 9 people. But I haven't released the video yet. So that was a success. So this will be a success because we got Grant Cameron here. It doesn't matter how many people are in the room. All that matters is the video, but it should be polite to people. So you people don't want to be filmed, right? Okay. So that would include, I guess, Mike, don't film anybody. Don't take pictures. So Mike, you're okay being filmed. You can sit over here, right? You want to sit here? Your career won't be ruined, You don't, because someone might go to meet up to a past event, see your photo, get you fired from your job because you're so crazy that you came to a meeting in Surrey Central Library.
Well, John Lear got fired. John Lear was a pilot for American Airlines. He got fired.
He did?
Yeah, they called him into the office, the vice president, and said, John, this is true in this newspaper article about you? He said, yeah, it's true. John, we can't have people like you flying aircraft. You're fired.
What did you think of his talk, Mike? Mike Young's been with us for years. What do you think of Grant's talk?
Yeah,
Sitting right here.
Awesome. It's tremendously informative. Sorry. Yeah. Tremendously informative.
Oh, thank you. I'm like one of these Facebook people filming my food. Thank you. Wow. So how's the meal there, Grant?
Fantastic. When did you start filming?
Oh, just a minute ago.
No, I'm saying, you seem to have pretty high-end equipment.
I guess around 2011. So I got serious about video, yeah.
Side, as Tracy came out the other side of the building without touching anything, was applauding.
Yeah.
So, into the physical part, which is fine, but she's not talking. In fact, when we talked about right brain, left brain, we were in Eureka Springs, and then her and I started talking, and we quickly did interviews. I didn't realize she was completely balancing Richard.
Yeah, like Richard Dolan, I probably follow him more than anyone else in the world. Like, he has good, very useful information, but he doesn't talk about important things like consciousness or spirituality.
Yeah.
But he's good with what's going on currently in the news. congressional hearings, things like
But
that.
that's what I say, they're still in the world of, let's prove UFOs exist.
Yeah.
Like, no, let's not.
Yeah, that's already been proven.
That's
Yeah.
where I sort of diverge from everything else. It's like, how many more times are we going to do this? Because one person will say it's real, another one will say it's a hoax, and then the next person will say, oh, I haven't got enough information. Oh, okay, let's wait for the next video.
So you've been dealing with this for 50 years, right?
Then sure.
So for
good anyway.
50 years, poor Grant's been dealing with this for 50
So,
years. Like,
the
I'm
UFOs
pathetic.
exist.
Yeah. I should get to eating my meal now. I can't film everything.
Yeah. Yeah, Vancouver's a good place, but you got the distance is the problem here in terms of getting people together.
We're dependent on the SkyTrain kind of, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people, by the time they travel and then the meeting and stuff, it's just too much time.
Well, I guess Winnipeg's a smaller city, right?
Yeah, Winnipeg is we had a central Winnipeg, so every was never more than 15 minutes drive for everybody.
Okay.